Finally, the last game in the Last Bible trilogy. Last Bible 3. Yeah, it just called Last Bible 3. Like that, it is a game style, not the subtitle for something like Megami Tensei Gaiden. From the title, only Last Bible 3 is on cover art and on the main menu in the game. However, now it's a game for a on console, not for handheld, like previous entries in the Last Bible series. And like Last Bible 2, I finished this game before making this game, but with grinding before the final boss fight. More details later in the video, and as spoiler-free as possible. So I'm not sure if I'll have spoiler warning about it or not. Or maybe I'll have a spoiler warning. You will see about it. I think I finished Last Bible 2 after I made the video about it. You know, I might have played Megami Tensei and spin-off games out of order, because I sorted this game list only by the year, not by days, in Google Spreads. And I dragged a skip Devil Summoner because it doesn't have a full English patch. I checked it out and it came later in the year. I guess when I'll ask Google Spreads for a different franchise, then I probably should sort dates by day. And for completely different franchises that I haven't started playing games or haven't even started writing the page for the franchise. Sorry about rambling. Back to about Last Bible 3. That was wrong to show, but I know. It was developed by Multimedia Intelligence Transfer and published by Alice, only for Super Famicom at first. Way later it was published for Wii, Virtual Large Console, and of course only in Japan. So of course I used a fan-made patch made by Tom, for which I guess I have a loose complaint about it. It adds swear words to the TL. I know Japanese doesn't have swear words, and for what I think was target audience, kids that wouldn't be swear words. So I'm unsure if I experience the story as accurately as possible because of those things. Also, I think one-made patch should also be made for the intended target audience to be as accurate as possible, which I think was kids for this game. Anyways, I should continue talking about the game itself and start with what I already mentioned, the story. I might say more than the premise, but at least before writing it out, I can't figure out how else to share it, because it takes a long time to get to the premise. After starting a new game, it starts with the same skin features in the opening. Then what was point setting throughout the opening is a starting new game. Events starting the new game, the same thing will show up. Someone stranded in a snow when out or something like that dies. Then he reminisces about his past being part of the army in a fair, then about his family. And then he finds a gate to the other world and his personality changes, with which opening ends. Then he either fights or dies after entering the other vault near the gate. Now perspective changes to appears flying and saying what different characters are doing, and then Roddy tries to wake up his brother Seal. Let me I can pronounce it. But then the mom wakes up Seal. And the game starts with us playing as Seal. Okay, picture it name awkward. And I still don't read it. Over multiple days, Seals and his friends go to Sanba Hill and find the city of Plantica and then investigate. While also needing to go to school for Seal to learn spells. While all that happens, his family wants to visit his friend, but then the teacher will take a break. Then Dad receives mail with bad news, then school will be getting closed for a week, and lastly trouble appears which forces everyone to flee the village. While on a ship, brother was sent off ship. Then Seal was forced to get on the ship to try finding brother, but got stranded near village where his teacher was. While trying to find brother, Seal needs to deal with similar problem to his village problem in his teacher's village and neighboring village, and then try to figure out and deal with what makes those problems in the first place in every village and town. Okay, yeah, not literally in every village, but something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure how to share it differently. And the story is good and there are interesting events and twists. Needing to go to the school over multiple days. And the story doesn't continue until the player is learning enough spells for the day. Well, only there's a lot of conditions to what the story ends with. And already from the start of the game, romance is involved. Alice on character having a crush on a different character, which is noticeable of course from the start of the game, when both characters are on screen. Of course, the gameplay is mostly the same as previous Lost Bible games. Only overhead exploration to basic combat under selecting actions of every active party member's actions will be done with autoball and beast, what this game calls demons, recruiting and fusion. Only fusing those beasts together systems. The descriptions of items and spells are in easily noticeable places, maybe except when equipping equipment, where it shows only power or defense increase or decrease. From items you can read equipment description, but only for which you haven't equipped. Of course, every party member can try to talk with beast state, and it varies by the party member. If the player needs to input or not while talking until asking to recruit a beast, or for an item. The last past is still controlled by the player, which shows the beast's emotions and a part which needed to be filled to be able to recruit said beast. However, if you say something wrong to a beast, then multiple wrong stuff, then there's a chance that they can take away your beast from your party. Only which are is active party members. And your allies can force beasts to a higher level than your level. Well, I know that you can also recruit beasts which are higher level than your level, but I forgot if that is actually the case. And of course there's a chance of mutations happening when forcing beasts together. Omen or story-related party members constantly join, leave and rejoin the party, but level up off screen. But I didn't notice if skill points get increased when the shredders leveled up off screen. Also, if you have a full party, then you are forced to remove at least one piece if there's no space for story-related party members. Fusions can still be done either in a specific area or everywhere using a spell or item, for which each spell is needed by at least one party member in the party. Of course, beasts still can equipment, which of course gets unequipped when you have both beasts together. Now I remembered why I have bad memories of this unequipping mechanism, because I encountered it in Digimon games, not just one, where when Digimon Digifalls or Digifalls, equipment gets unequipped. But in Megami Tensei games, with a fusion system, it is understandable why equipment gets unequipped, but it still is a pain in the ass to deal with it. So, I only equipped beasts when I know I found those beasts together for a while. Or just forgot to equip equipment for beasts. I forgot if this was in previous Lost Paper games, but in this game, beasts can level up to some degree, and you need to manually select which skill point to increase for beasts when it levels up. And now this is new, I think, for the Lost Paper series. Beasts can inherit spells only when forcing beasts together. The player can select which two spells to inherit to the beast. Also don't forget the mount phases, which mostly limits when you can talk with beasts. And it interacts with some very few story events. Seal can lead spells for which you can manually change the ambiguous for its spells and exchange effect limits based on the ambiguous. Okay. And also that I cannot lean it, but having or maybe leaning off camera, off screen. Other characters use similar system with spells, where you can select ambiguous for the spell, which can be done only outside of the battle. You can change the ambiguous for the spell when you are in battle. There's basic item crafting, which works basically in the same way as base sorting, but for items. Well, for specific items, which can be done by a specific key item connected to a party member everywhere, but need to wait for some time or instructions, or actually you could save base fusion is crafting, but with beads. But whatever. To see specific stats for a specific piece, you need to find the beast piece card, which works as a bestiary. But bestiary's entries doesn't get updated if you recreate a piece. Only cards works for that. In most of the game, losing if every omen party member is defeated is, or at least story-related party members, is a game over and which makes you load the latest level, but in specific instance, losing is either getting sent back where you can heal and you are automatically healed, or staying knocked out near which knocked you out. Saving is only everywhere on the world map and in a few specific locations. There's a spell which forces enemy piece to force together, and it can happen to the player's piece, because I used autoball and it happened to me, and I dropped enemies from the very start of the game, can remove your piece from your party. So I reset the game, but no, it was only forcing your piece together. In stat screens, nice level up shows remaining experience needed, like 40 out of 55, and it confused me that I needed to get just 15 experience points to level up, but no, these numbers get reduced. Of course, I accidentally were skipping dialogue, and here and there I might have missed context, but because of the OBS replay buffer, I tried to read missed dialogues. It is a Ike encounter trait. Just few steps and then the next encounter. Thankfully there isn't a phase system in an encounter, but it still can get annoying. Marked trait, marked for short, still is a currency for peace to exchange items. There's some minigames, basically color semantics, but only with sounds. Well, no, maybe it isn't semantics. That was wrong. So then, I don't think I will be using his assigned image of the game. Well, it's just repeating round sounds. There's yeah, it's just repeating sounds what others made. And rock paper scissors only with specific characters in specific locations and items. And maybe there are other minigames. Having a specific story-related party member, there might be a specific dialogue from said party member. There's a planning option from which is in the policy screen. You can call for a piece without wasting a turn for one party member, and the called piece can do actions immediately. There's other options which can be done either in battle or outside of the battle. Some options may be connected to the other battle. I didn't play around with those options. When trying to force peace together, there's two types of funny that you are under-leveled for some reason. One is in the peace preview, and another is still in the version menu. There's no reason to have different warnings that the player is under-leveled for said piece. Of course there are but limited but in-game explanations on how to wash them. Of course there are places where you can leave pieces to just leave them or train them. Only one piece at a time can be training in one locations. Teleport spell strength varies by locations if it can be onset from inside or not. But then other characters can onset from everywhere. The same NPC can have multiple dialogues at the same time, but trying to talk with them again, only the latest dialogue shows up. At least in the early game, it seemed regular encounters enemies can number as boss enemies. In this game, there's a difficult fight where base can be used, and with party members that join just before it. Well, having some fights before the difficult fight, but still not be able to use base. Of course, not counting random encounters. I consulted a guide once. I thought I needed to go to a different village before going to the village where I actually needed to go. After reading a guide, I thought I needed to... It turned out to be a city to which I could have teleported to, and I thought the city was a meeting point with NPCs before the village where I needed to actually go and meet them again in that village. But no. I just needed to meet with those NPCs in the village without having pit stops before, but needed to go in a specific time, specific month phase, and needed to go into a specific house, which I didn't do when I went inside the village at the right time before. After one loss to the final boss fight, I grinded before, mainly to be able to full space to get level, because it was a difficult fight. When in the last dungeon, the second to the last boss fight wasn't difficult at all. I guess now I'll spoil a little bit of the final dungeon. So just skip the wrap-up chapter. I still want all gameplay clips of the final dungeon. I thought the last dungeon was larger than how it... I thought the last dungeon would have been larger than how it actually was. And I thought it would have multiple boss battles than just 2 boss battles. But not only 2 boss battles is the final dungeon. Just second to the last boss fight and final boss fight. Okay, having only 2 boss battles at final dungeon is a spoiler. Should I put it? Then I can add lost spoiler warning. Wait, no. I don't know how else to share. I guess I added lost spoiler warning for that. I think is small final dungeon spoiler. So yeah, I guess it's at least low spoiler warning. Sure, here and there it seemed to have difficulty spikes, but I got past them. I was willing to take as much time as needed, or until I would run out of scheduled videos that I already did. The game is enjoyable and interesting. Probably it can be played without even playing the previous last Bible games, or even any Megami Tensei game. But maybe for better experience, I recommend you to play it after you have played at least previous last Bible games, and if you are interested in them. Or, like I always am saying, at least try it out if you can find it one way or other way. Thanks for watching all of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like the video, subscribe and comment. See you next time.